What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. You see the thumbnail. It's gonna get quite interesting. About this particular subject for all the people who got the bad girl syndrome. The ladies who are bad girls per se, and the guys who are in the market for looking for bad girls. Fresh out the shower, excuse me, with the I'm oiled up like an R&B star. But first and foremost, thanks for rocking with me. Um, so what we're gonna have to do is this first and foremost, get into this conversation about I don't know how to put this gently, but some feelings might get hurt. But this is just all about not necessarily game and purpose. So rule number one. This is why bad girls go from bad girls to burdens, is because they've always been a bad chick in their minds. So they could have got a lot of attention at a certain amount of time, a certain age or whatever. And guess what? They're bad girls now. You know, they're bad. So, when they were at their peak, I'm this fine, everybody wants me, everybody loves me, everybody likes me, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But the problem with that is, it's no nice way to put it, they never paid attention to when they fell off. They never paid attention to that. So guess what? Your time is over. But you still think, you're a bad girl. So part of what's going on is because, as Kevin would talk about, winter is coming, right? And it's going to be a rough time for a lot of us in the near future. For those who are unprepared for what's going on next, you're going to see a lot of people who, they made fun of PJ Washington for getting with Brittany Renner's, but it's going to be a lot of Brittany Renner going around where guys are going to know this chick, and how she gets down and how she moves, and she's going to have a reputation and so on and so forth. But you're still going to be with her anyway because she's a bad girl. She's a bad chick, and you didn't get a chance to get her or get a bad chick at a certain at a certain time in your life, and now you're just gonna go ahead and do it. And you getting for Groupon prices, bargain based clearance prices, and it's all good. But the problem with that is she's a burden, and because you don't realize she's a burden, you playing into this stereotype. So now the stereotype is gonna lead you down this path. She's a bad chick. She doesn't know your worth. That's problem number one. You know what I'm saying? What's happening? She doesn't know your worth. So because she doesn't know your worth, you're gonna pay. So she becomes a burden because she keeps thinking that she's better than you. And since she's better than you in this whole scenario, you're gonna be always overlooked by her. She's always gonna be settling, which makes her a burden. She's a bad chick who can't get bad chick results. So now everything from that point on is settling. And now she's gonna want you to fulfill all of her bad girl fantasies about what she feels like she deserves and she's entitled to by her looks or whatever. You know, oh snap, you know. So she becomes a burden. Now, one of the other things that go along with this process is, you know, bad chicks, and part of what happened was, I don't know how this happened, but in my algorithm, it was like an episode of Bad Girls Club or Baddies, whatever it is now. And it had the girl, Natalie Nunn, the one with the big chin. Her and another girl were fighting. And I'm looking at them like, man, I never, you know, I feel like she had a Peter Griffin, what was not Peter Griffin, the guy from, is that the Family Guy, American Dad? She had one of them big, strong chins. But I never thought she was like the finest chick, but people liked her. That's their preference. Doesn't matter. But I can see she's gained weight. She's not as bad as she quote unquote used to be. But her attitude is worse. And I'm like, this is a problem because you're gonna go from a bad chick to a burden because of your bad attitude. And the reason why this sucks is because, and I use Amber Rose as a thumbnail, is because you get more and more rebellious instead of getting refined. You get rebellious instead of refined. You know these chicks. You start to see these women get the tattoos out of rebellion. They don't work on themselves mentally or physically, or work on their character out of rebellion because I'm a bad chick. I was once a bad chick, so I don't have to do any work. Thus, the Iyanla Van Zant thing about women not doing their work and women being delusional, and thus also a lot of times the ladies are calling into these shows and they feel like their looks are more than they are. So now they can never be an average woman. They're never average, and everybody is always beneath them when they're never average. It's ridiculous, but it plays into the rebellious part because they're rebellious when it comes to reality also. So she's a bad chick, but she becomes a burden because she's rebellious like that when it comes to reality. So now you can't take her nowhere. You even if you like her and you want to take her, there's certain places that are off limits, and we're all getting older, and there are certain things there's certain environments we want to be in, even if we were rebels ourselves. But we know I can't take you, and now you become a burden because there are things I want to do that I can't do with you. So I got to do it. I got to go alone, or I got to find somebody to replace you. Thus, you become a burden because if I got to find somebody to replace you, guess what that means? You're going to have this toxic relationship story and your excuse for why you're doing out of pocket reckless things. So now you can tear up everything if you want to. You know, you can destroy another relationship if you want to. You can go out with this sad story about a man did you wrong if you want to, because you rebelled on doing right by that man or with that man. I didn't want to go here. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be a wife. I didn't want to be a girlfriend. I didn't want to be feminine. I wanted to be what I wanted to be when I wanted to be what I wanted to be, which is ridiculous. But for a guy, that's a burden. He doesn't get to say, I don't want to be a man right now. I don't feel like it. I ain't. Yes, I didn't protect or provide. You know, in this whole situation, because I just don't feel like it. Some days I will, some days I won't. It don't make no sense. And it's like, okay, this is what we doing. So the rebelliousness, it gets in the way. So now we playing this game. And since we playing this game, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So I find myself looking at this stuff like, this is crazy. This is crazy. But she becomes a burden. And on top of that, some of these ladies, they some of them come into reality in real life because they don't get the results that they used to. And then she becomes a burden because now she realized she can't be a bad chick no more, but now she wants to get it together. Now she wants to be a boss chick or whatever. And now she wants to get her grind on, her hustle on, even her self-improvement on. But now she wants you to finance it. See, you gotta pay for her gym membership because she's a bad chick. That's what you want, right? You got to encourage her and inspire her, and maybe even put her in a situation where you're not paying her if she wants to go back to school. Maybe you're not paying her tuition, right? Maybe we're too old for that, but maybe she's not paying any bills or rent, and she's living for free, and she's working, but she's using her money to work on her education or her self-improvement, which you get nothing out of because she's only doing it to get to become independent and have her success story. So now she becomes a burden because now, even though if you're in that situation and you're doing the lion's share of all the work, she's gonna fall back. I'm tired. I'm trying to get my education. I'm studying. I'm working hard. I'm working and going to school. Blah 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 blah. And now we got an issue because now you're a burden. Because even with that, you also want to go out when you want to go out. You know, and then you want to have ladies' night when you want to have ladies' night. So it becomes this controlling, ridiculous issue. So you went from a bad chick to a burden real quick, real quick. Not a big deal. Um, for some, others it is. Now, it's gonna suck when I say this, but this becomes a sexual issue, because now she was a bad chick and now she becomes a burden, right? So guess what? If you're if she's not as attracted to you as she would be attracted to the guys in her past, now sex with you becomes a chore, a task. Now all of a sudden, she's like, she's like, she's like a few rough pumps away from, or a few bad sexual experiences away from me doing you, because it's like I don't want you. She's doing you a favor by having sex with you because you know you're washed up, even though but she once was a bad chick. So even though she once was a bad chick and now she's not, and she's more of a burden, she's still, like I said before, doing you a favor because you're with her, even though you probably are. It's your lifestyle she's living, but sexually now she's not into it. You're gonna have to overly romance her, overly wine and dine her, overly compliment her, and you're gonna be over the top with it, and because her self-esteem ain't what it used to be because she's not getting the compliments to the extent that she got the compliments and attention when she was quote unquote a bad chick. I've seen this with guys who, they're really doing their darndest to hold on to their woman who don't really want them. They want their lifestyle. They still want to be a bad chick. And all they're doing is using these guys to get into because their lifestyle can get them back into the room of the caliber of men that they feel like they deserve. So they're basically, I'm just putting up with you until I can find a better guy. So now you're gonna have an issue. You're gonna have a raw issue. You know. Now, another part of this that sucks is basically, I saw the clip um, on Philip Scott's show about the woman who got all the backlash because she has 5 kids by 4 guys, and she didn't want to date a bartender. And it was like, look, you got an issue, you tripping. And she didn't understand why they had this backlash to her. And I didn't bring kids into it yet, but I'm about to do it right now. You got this situation where you're going to have moms who were bad chicks, and they're attractive mothers, but they're looking for men to bump up their lifestyle that can include their kids' lifestyle also. And for some odd reason, and they're not good at being good parents. And what I mean by they're not good at being good parents is their rebelliousness and their entitlement, their kids got that same rebelliousness and entitlement. And not only do you think you're going to take that into a man's house because you were a bad chick, you think your kids could take it to this man's house because you're a bad chick. And, he's got to foot the bill for all of y'all shenanigans and all of y'all mess ups and all of y'all mistakes or destruction. And you go from a bad chick to a burden real quick. You destroyed this, you destroyed that. You broke this, you broke that. You know, it becomes an ugly, ugly problem. You know, uh-oh, it's simply orange, you crazy. Oh man, is it the simply lemonade, the simply lemonade visit with the mango. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So now we got this whole issue. Now you a bad chick. You're a destructive bad chick. Your kids are destructive. So now we're gonna do this in a weird way. Next up, now all of a sudden, you really didn't think about it, but man, you never questioned this woman's kids as a burden because you gotta ask her, are you getting child support for these kids? And she's like, yeah, I'm getting child support for these kids. Well, if you're getting child support for these kids and you want, and if you take this woman in, she's coming into your lifestyle, she's bringing her kids, she's getting child support, but still, you still got to do stuff for her. You still got to pay for everybody's dinner. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't equate to making a lot of sense because now it's like, wait a minute, you know, well, her kid is three of us or four of us, but I'm still. How come she ain't footing the bill for any of this? How come she's not putting in extra on this food? How come she's not, when we go to dinner, how come she's not keeping it at a reasonable price? She not, how come she's not dipping in her child support to make sure this kid eats? Excuse me, more than they did when she was on her house. Maybe you ain't got to get separate groceries, but man, you should be able to make sure this kid has more than the kid has. The kid shouldn't come into a new situation and have just as little they had in the old situation and still be provided for by, you know, stepdad, and dad and mom's there, but her excuse is I'm a bad chick. I deserve it. No, you don't deserve all that. That's how you become a burden. Because God forbid, you get with these kids, they get older. Some of you moms and mothers don't realize y'all start looking at these other guys to figure out a way to put your kid through college. It's like, wait a minute, Playboy, you're not doing that, Playboy. You know, no, 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 we're not doing that. You know, so part of being a bad chick is also, and I don't know how many of y'all have had this situation happen, where she goes from being a bad chick to a burden because some of these ladies, if they have kids or if they don't have kids, it's always been about them. So they're very selfish. And if they're moms, some of them are not good mothers. And if you got a kid, they won't be motherly to your kid or your kids because they're more accustomed to being the center of attention. They're not accustomed to taking the back seat to anybody, even children. And sometimes that includes their own children. So now she goes from bad chick to burden because now she's competing for attention with children. And that sucks. So now you gotta how can I say this? Cater to her ego. And ego, I'm gonna get into that in a second. But this becomes an issue. You're a burden. You're a real burden because now I gotta find somebody who's motherly. If this is a blended family Brady Bunch esque type situation, but at the same time, you gotta ask yourself, if you taking care of your kids' school clothes, she's gonna she's gonna expect you to help her with her kids' school clothes. But when she's taking care of her kids' school clothes, is she gonna take care of your kids' school clothes too? And more often than not, they don't. So now it's a bigger financial burden. It's a bigger financial burden. Whoo, that sucks. That sucks, man. So now she's a bigger financial burden, and now you like, nah, I got to get out of here. If her kid got talent, you know, could you put my kid in AAU? Could you coach my kid up XYZ? If you got a skill in STEM, could you teach my kid how to do this, and this? And now you're teaching the children skills, and it's like, huh, let me teach my own kids this. Why we playing this game? So it's a whole nother thing. Now this is going to get a little, you know, upsetting if you come across this. Um, Bad chicks' egos. Some of this, you've had toxic relationships. These pretty women who've had all these bad relationships. You know, they're attracted to swagger, right? But part of the swagger is arrogance, not confidence, but arrogance. And what they're attracted to is an ego. And sometimes ego is rooted in insecurity and bravado or whatever, some grandiose view of yourself. So since it's like that, you got attracted. You got attracted to somebody being over the top and maybe out of pocket, maybe disrespectful. So now, as a bad chick's become a burden because her ego won't let her be normal. Her ego won't let her be average. That's when you see the women who are overweight, out of shape. Their best days look like they've passed them, or they look older than they should look, or their body went from being built to bad built, but their ego still is highly intact, and they're petty, they're narcissistic, and this, that, and the third, and they become a burden because they can't see past their own ego. And now they can't see, okay, people have passed you in life. Your ego makes you feel like you're at this point in life, but you can't recognize that people have passed you. You were once in the fast lane, but now you're at the bus stop. Now, maybe I'm not in the fast lane, but I'm in a car and I'm driving, on the freeway. I just picked you up from the bus stop. Maybe I should drop you back off because your ego won't let you see that the car ain't good enough. What kind of car is this? This is not how I want to ride. You was just at the bus stop. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? You got flued in and picked up. You know, when's the last ticket you paid for? Which brings me to my next point about being a burden. The bad chick market is oversaturated because of ego. So every woman who's ever got flown out, who's ever got wined and dined, who's ever been in the room with the upper echelons, the ballers and the movers and the shakers, any woman who's ever done those type of things, who got expensive gifts, um, they're short. They're only short term thinkers. They don't have a long term thought process that, okay, this is going to last for a certain amount of time and it's going to be done. They're on that it's going to last forever, and it doesn't. And then a new crop of girls come in, and a new crop of girls come in, and a new crop of girls come in. And some of these chicks are bad chicks. Some of these chicks are just bad at paying attention because they're not bad chicks. And then you got the girls who used to be bad chicks and they're better than some of the bad chicks, but then they know they're not better than the new crop of bad chicks. It's a whole bad chick issue. But because of all of this mixed together, they never take inventory. because it's so oversaturated. They only look at the group that's doing worse than them, not the group that's doing better. It's the group that's doing worse. So they mark their territory. I'm better than this percentile of people. I'm a bad chick, but you know, I'm the top tier because I only see below average chicks, and I'm a bad chick for all these below average chicks. I'm like, no, what about the average chicks? And, the chicks on your level and the chicks that are above average. What about them? And it's like, what you talking about? You know, no, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a problem. You basically don't get married. And they become a burden. So now it becomes, it sucks to say this. Chicks become a burden because when you put some of these things together, you you start to realize something. There are certain chicks who do things who are passive aggressive in a sense. And what they're trying to do is, I'm trying to see if I still got bad chick sway. I wanted you, I didn't put myself in a situation that when I was younger and better looking, somebody with white knight pull up and show up and get me out of this bad decision that I made. So I was like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, you should call, you should show up immediately when I call and stop whatever you're doing and drop whatever you're doing and come here and save me because I'm a bad chick. And it's like, no, 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 no. Maybe you don't understand this. But I got a life, and you can't keep calling me because you keep messing up your life, and you need somebody to come fix it because you're cute. You're too old for that. You're grown now, you know. And then when it comes to the you're grown thing, it's like, they're not grown enough, you know, they're not grown enough to realize they're adults. It's just like, I'm so pretty, I don't have to be an adult. And it's like, no, that's not true whatsoever. You got to be an adult. It is what it is. You're gonna have to be an adult. You're gonna have to live like an adult. You're gonna have to carry yourself like an adult. You cannot make childish mistakes and call another adult to see it. Because at this point, you're not a help to this man's life. You're a hindrance. And then I'm gonna tell you, some of y'all believe that bad chicks. How bad chicks become a burden is because they have friends. And what I mean by that is, when you're younger, bad chicks got bad friends. Like, they got fine friends that come with them. And you're like, yeah, yeah, ooh, her friend's fine, man. You got all these fantasies about what you could do with her and her friends. But then as you get older, they become a burden because now it's a coven of ex bad chicks who they're still hanging out. And now, they're kind of low key flirting and not flirting because they're both struggling, and they both trying to get ahead, and they both using the situation. And it's like, yo. Let me get something straight. You can't bring your ex bad chick friends when we go out. They want to eat, they want to drink. Oh, you got my girlfriend? No, I don't have your girlfriend. I ain't invite her. And on top of that, some of them still play the don't you think I'm still sexy? Could we have a threesome game? Because some of these bad chicks become burdens because they are career bad chicks and career side chicks, and even for their friends, they'll be the side chick. You get what I'm saying? Like, they'll be the side chick, and their friend may or may not know about it. Like, they may or may not know that they're going to attempt to do this. Is what I'm saying. So now, you might think it's a good idea to have these two chicks and they know each other, they're competing, and they're friends, and this might wind up being what's your boy name? A Lou Williams situation where you got two bad chicks that you didn't had a kid with, right? and they just as friendly. It's a family Thanksgiving. But not, but you got to take something into consideration. They become a burden because now you're taking in two bad chicks down on their luck. See, two bad chicks that are up, they winning. That's one thing, but that comes with a certain amount of je ne sais quoi and a certain amount of lifestyle. But when you get two bad chicks when they down, that's a lot of insecurity. It might be good for your, you might think it's good for your sex life, but then again, not so much. Because what happens when, these women are competing? It was one thing when they were telling stories, they were telling stories to each other how they did a guy. And now both of them can't, you're not, if you pick one more predominantly over the other, that's going to be a problem. If you, like both of y'all equal, that's going to be a problem because they're going to compete, but they're going to separate because, somebody's supposed to be the better bad chick because it's a bad chick scenario. So all they're going to do is burden you with constantly reinforcing which one is better at everything. And you're going to get tired of it. Who's the better cook? She is. Who's the better, who rocks the mic better? She does. Who's better in bed? She is. Who do you have more fun with? Her. You know, who's less trouble? Her. It's like, okay, okay, listen. We got to grow up. Now this is becoming a burden because this is not this is a sibling rivalry we got going on here. And not to mention, some girls come along uh, as a stepping stone. Like they'll come in and they might bring their friend, and either them or their friend is already planning to leave. You're just a stepping stone. Now you got a problem because now you're looking at the chick that brought the chick or is with the chick. Like, wait a minute, y'all set me up. Like this is not what I'm signing up for. Y'all setting me up. And people go, not so much. Yeah, so much. The reason I'm bringing it up because they become a burden, you know, because even that chick might, if it doesn't work out, she might double back. Now, good thing is you don't have to commit to none of these chicks, right? But the bad thing is, you have no idea which direction these girls are gonna take it because you don't have any idea about what their intentions are because their intentions are just to get over. Get over for another month, get over for another 6 months, another year, whatever, so on and so forth. So they become a burden. The reason why I got to bring it up is because, excuse me, like even with the Natalie Nunn thing, they become violent. And it's one thing to see young women being out of pocket and combative and becoming violent. It's another thing when when people think about the ages of the women when we saw the real, not the real, the basketball wives come out, and Evelyn and Tammy used to just be fighting all the doggone time, right? You got women in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, and early in 40s with that type of demeanor. And now you got to clean up their mess everywhere they go. And you trying to go out somewhere just so they can act like they got some sense every now and then, and they don't tell your stuff. But you wind up in these situations because what they won't tell you is they've got accustomed to not having accountability and responsibility and consequences in private and in public. So they don't think if they go out in public and do something ridiculous, because a lot of sisters do things ridiculous. See, they can get in a fight and walk off. You gonna get in a fight and you gonna get arrested. You know, you gonna get arrested. They gonna charge you. You know, if you get into it with a man, they gonna find the camera and they gonna find the license plate. These ladies, they just They get lax with that. Oh, I don't know where she's at. Like women hit women with cars. You saw the lady that shot the lady in New York. They found her all the way in Jacksonville, and they should have been found her. But it takes that long. Don't take that long. She's just a woman. That's all that is. She can get away with it for a while. That's all that was. But she's a bird. So she goes from bad chick to bird, and I'm gonna stop it after this one because I think this is necessary to say. Um, Chicks go from bad chicks to burdens because they're irresponsible financially with other people's or irresponsible with other people's resources and their own. You think, if you ever seen somebody who's a bad chick and you ever been with them, you're gonna realize they're real aloof when it comes to resources. Like they waste food, they waste money, they waste time, you know, they waste they waste clothes. You might have something nice. You might have got some nice sheets that cost a good grip of money. They'll destroy the sheets because they don't pay for shit. They don't pay for sheets. They don't know how much they cost. They don't care. They're not good at washing things. They'll wash things and destroy them. They'll put makeup on everything because, unfortunately, you know, they're hotel type chicks. Everybody's room service to them. Everybody is supposed to impress them, so they're not really rational when it comes to things. Some of these chicks don't eat leftovers. They don't eat leftovers. What a beef at, AM. What a beef at. I'm beefing with you tonight. They don't eat leftovers. They'll drink all your alcohol on a regular basis, but they're not paying for anything. So, you find yourself in these situations where she was a bad chick, but now she becomes a burden because let's just be honest. You know, let's just be honest. She doesn't care about anything. I've seen these chicks, they destroy, oh, I'm going to get my nails done. For what? You know, I'm going to get them done again. They just do things that waste money. This is why you see all these ladies with this BBL and plastic surgery. They're trying to, and liposuction and all that, because at the end of the day, they're using that as a way to not do anything, and now they're owing thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to plastic surgeons without even having a career because they feel like if I'm so pretty, somebody gonna come and pay the bill for me. And it's like, oh Lord, have mercy, you lost your mind. You think I'm gonna take like the ones that went to college think the guy's gonna come along and they went to college, they're a bad chick, they got a degree, so they don't need a man, but now but they're gonna find a man that's gonna take care of them and hopefully either pay their college debt off or they don't have to pay no bills and they pay their own college debt off because they don't pay for nothing, but they can still shop and kick it, which is ridiculous. You got like the ones I said to do the plastic surgery thing, they gonna find a man, he gonna pay everything because they had the surgery and they find, which is ridiculous. People get older and they realize, look, you're a burden. Like you're really a burden because you really think, this is a Uber ride and these guys are the minute you meet these guys, you charging them per mile, per kiss, per hug, per cheek clap, you know. Mm-mm. You charging them per date that they take you out on. And these guys start to realize, look, man, I'm older, I'm wise, I'm not doing this. We're not playing this game. And now you become a burden. And that's why you see sometimes when you see people with people that and they match, this person's average, they're average, or this person is like, why are you with them? And it's because they're good, they're a good person. You could have had somebody find her. Yeah, you could have had somebody find her, but so what? You know, you know, The cold part about it is they're right. They will. They're right until they become wrong. That's the crazy part too. But like I said, there's always somebody, like he said, there's always somebody to come along for the bill. But when the bill becomes due, people bounce. Now you stuck with everything. Like I've seen so many women who've had mental breakdowns because there's not a man who's gonna come along and pay the bill. And now they have mental illness. The mental illness is a stalling tactic because they trying to get out of paying their way. You know, they mentally ill when they got kids. It's ridiculous. They're not mentally ill when they living for the free, but they mentally ill when the bill come in their name. It just makes no sense, and that's why they become a burden. Because even when they play that game, they think you're gonna work with them to become less mentally ill, and you're gonna straighten them out by changing the environment and lifestyle, and then they could calm down. And it's just stupid. It's just stupid. But it's my opinion on this. Is how you go from bad chick to burden. Uh, I'm gonna get up out of here. I gotta go eat dinner. I'm hungry. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace, everybody. Peace, peace, peace.